Here is a game of ethics chess, and this will be submitted for my final project. For advertisers, there's many ethical, and marketers, many ethical dilemmas that they're going to face day to day, week to week, month to month. And the five we're going to talk about today are transparency, do no harm to the consumer, respect the consumer, create a mutually beneficial relationship between the seller and the buyer, and you guessed it, truth. Always maintain truth. And to be transparent is, well, I'm playing a game of chess and I'm trying to win. So I'm also the transparent chess pieces. As you can see right through them. Okay, now moving on to do no harm. It's important for advertisers to always keep the consumer informed, and this is especially particular in my career because I'm going to be moving into healthcare advertising. And the pawns are kind of the day-to-day ethical dilemmas I'll face. So let's say, hey Robert, write some disclaimer copy, but only include these 5 side effects. But the consumer needs to know which side effects are important, and they need to know all the side effects if they're going to buy a drug. So take out that little ethical dilemma, just include all the side effects. Done. Okay, now moving on to respect the consumer. A lot of people in advertising think that the consumer is stupid. They're not. You need to get them, engage them, get them to think a little bit, get them to make some decisions on their own. So here is a situation where I could get burnt. I got my rook here, I can put his king in chess very easily, which I'll go ahead and do that, but I'm not always paying attention to my ethics. This is the consumer who I just completely ignored, thinking they were stupid and wouldn't see this blatant move. Boom, they take my piece. That's how I can get burned, with an ethical dilemma right there. Okay, and now create a mutually beneficial relationship between the buyer and seller. Obviously, if the buyer sells a good, he or she profits. But whoever buys, or obviously the seller buys, the seller sells a good, he or she profits. But the buyer should also profit from purchasing the good. So again, that goes back to the side effects. Always include them. Just say what the product is, what it does, what its pros are, what the cons are of it. Here's a situation. Sometimes you have to give something up. Right here, I'll take their pawn, and they'll come back and get me. It was a mutually beneficial relationship for both of us, the buyer and the seller. So if the seller buys something, he or she needs to get a good value out of it. And that's just basic ethics, and it makes smart marketing sense because they never buy again then. And now moving on to truth. Truth is by far and beyond the most important thing in any journalism ethics, any sequence of journalism. And truth in advertising is pretty simple, just don't lie. I'm going to be working in healthcare, or run a clinical study. I won't run the study, but the study results come back, this works in 80% of people. 4 out of 5 doctors recommend this. Don't say this works in 90% of people. Don't say all doctors recommend this. Be honest, because clinical trials are important when you're doing healthcare. People want to know how effective this is and for how many people it worked. So this is the bastion of ethical dilemmas right here. The opponent's king. And I can capture the king and basically be ethical throughout my career. And right here is my white knight of journalism ethics. And here's my queen. Important piece to have. I'm going to make this move right here, take the pawn, put the king in check. King can't go anywhere except taking my queen, which my knight would take him. So, checkmate. Journalism ethics. I just wrote a commercial that says this works in 80% of people because that's what the clinical study showed. Now, sometimes you can be more ethical and make sure the clinical study was correct, and that's what I would do. Check into those numbers, get those documented, make sure they're factual before I put it on the air, in a magazine, on the internet, wherever. And that is how you win at advertising journalism ethics.